Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Yep, it's the world's most dangerous morning show, The Breakfast Club. Charlamagne the God, DJ Envy, and Jess Hilarious had to step out, but Lauren LaRosa is here. And I got my guy, the CEO and founder of the Young Turks Network, Cenk. It's Uygur, right?
Cenk Uygur.
Cenk Uygur.
I know. It's a giant pain in the ass. This seems pronounced like a J.
What?
And Uygur, how are you even going to say it? That's not even the Turkish way of saying it. But we're just trying to get along, man.
It's my guy, though. But y'all know I can't pronounce nothing. But how are you, sir?
I'm good, brother. How you doing?
I am blessed, black, and highly favored, man. You got this initiative that you have, that you're launching, that you're trying to recruit Democrats who lean into left-wing populism.
You got that right.
What does that look like?
So that looks like some of what Trump promised. Hey, I'm going to deliver for the average guy, and I hate the establishment, et cetera. But, of course, he was full of crap, and he didn't mean it. And so we said on the Young Turks, this brother's all he's going to do is do tax cuts for the rich. Right? Mm-hmm. So that's what he did. Mm-hmm. And that's what he wants, $5.5 trillion in tax cuts for corporations, et cetera. So what we're saying is, how about we actually deliver for the average guy? Higher wages, okay, lower drug prices, paid family leave so you can get a little bit of time off when you have a kid, money out of politics, end the wars, and lower housing prices. So, but in order to do that, you got to take on big drug companies. You got to take on private equity that's buying our residential homes and driving up the prices. And so the reason that the Democrats haven't done it in the past is because they're too wedded to the donor class. Absolutely. And so we're saying, let's bring the Democratic Party back to what it was. So what it was serving the average guy, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, all these, by the way, super popular programs. So let's go back to passing bills, delivering for people, and let's get the Democratic Party back and kick Trump's ass.
You know, okay, Lauren.
I was going to say, what you're talking about is economic populism.
Yeah.
But how realistic is that? Because people always say this stuff, and then even when they get in a position, there's so much you got to fight through, so many different tiers of like the House and, the people that don't agree. So how realistic is it? And what does that timeline look like? Because when you're saying it, I'm not going to say it in my time here. It's going to be generations.
Yeah, Lauren, I love that question, okay, because you're right. That's exactly the question everybody should ask, okay? Because Democrats get in and then they never do it, right? And so I get super frustrated. First thing they took out of the bill, the COVID relief bill under Biden, was $15 minimum wage. Now, if you do $15 minimum wage, you not only raise people's wages to the tune of about $92 billion, right? That goes from the richest people in the country, the people who need it the most, who are working, right? But you also raise the wages above that. And then whenever you go to do that, they go, oh, no, you can't do that because that'll drive up inflation. No, inflation's already here. I need my wages to go up to keep up with it, right? So why don't we ever pass any of those things? Because of the donor class. So look, if you're a Democrat, I hate to break it to you, right? So if you're a Republican, I got terrible news for you, okay? But if you're a Democrat, I got bad news, which is that Biden and all those guys, they never meant it. That's why they took $15 minimum wage right out of the bill. So why are we different? No corporate donors. No candidate is allowed to take corporate PAC money if they're with Rebellion PAC. And so far, we got Roques, the first guy who said no corporate PAC money at all, and he's awesome. And he's the one that worked with Bernie to get $15 minimum wage at Amazon. And when they first started that, they're like, oh, you're not going to be able to pressure Amazon. You don't have any power. What are you guys going to do? You progressives, you're always rabble-rousing. And guess what? They got $15 minimum wage at Amazon, right? So Roe's been delivering throughout. Now we got Richard Ojeda running in North Carolina 9. That brother almost beat somebody in West Virginia when he was down 50, when that's a R plus 54. But when we get in, Lauren, if we don't deliver, like here, I'll put the first one up on the board, paid family leave. So that's 12 weeks off for moms after they have a baby.
I haven't had to use that.
Yeah.
No, I didn't have a baby, but my mom was sick, so I had to use paid family leave.
Yeah, but you know that 85% of Americans don't have paid family leave?
I don't know what I would have did without it.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy not to have it. You got to go back to work the next day, or you got to burn all your vacation time, all your sick time. It's so unfair. So that polls at 84%. What that means is the Democrats and Republicans are full of crap. If you can't pass something that's at 84%, you're not trying. Okay, so what we're going to do if we win is we're going to try, and we're going to try like hell, and we're going to take out whoever is in our path, whether they're Republicans or Democrats. So if they want to come cry about it, no problem. We're populists. We're ready to kick their ass. So it's not like, oh, yeah, like the old days. I'll go, we'll be so kind to our colleagues. Our colleagues are so precious. No, your colleagues aren't that precious. They're the ones who killed all these bills. So I demand accountability for our candidates. I'll do the accountability. If they throw any of these bills under the bus, then we're going to kick them out of the group. But they're not going to because they're great guys. And we got another guy coming on May 1st, too.
I think everything that you're saying is great. I feel like it's 4 years too late. And what I mean by that is we're talking as if we're in normal times, as if the midterms are just going to come and we're just going to go vote and, put the people in, or 2028 is just going to come and we're just going to go vote. They're already telling us what they're planning to do. They want Trump to run for a third term. I don't think these normal ways of doing things are going to be able to combat what is currently in the White House. And I don't think we understand that yet because it's just talk.
Yeah.
When they actually do the things that they say that they're doing, that's when everybody's going to realize, like, oh, wait, so we don't have free and fair elections no more?
Yeah. So, Charlamagne, a couple of layers to that, right? So, first off, we're the only ones, as far as I can see, that's actually got a plan, right? So, and I encourage everybody else, if you don't like our plan, great. If you're a Democrat, come up with a different plan, right? And then plant your flag like we're doing and say, hey, I'm for this or I'm for that. And we're saying we're for economic policy, and we're going to win back Congress. So step one in beating Trump and also taking over the Democratic Party, you got to win these elections.
If they're free and fair elections.
Right. So now, Charlamagne, to the point you're making, so at some point, why were you and I opposed to Trump? We were opposed to him because we were worried that he was going to do authoritarian crap like this.
That's right.
Why did you and I worry about Joe Biden? Not because we hate Joe Biden, but because we were worried he was going to lose to Trump.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And unfortunately, we were right about all of that, right? So, okay, now what's the next step? So I've gone on every kind of show. So I'm here on Breakfast Club, but I've gone on, Patrick Bet-David and Tim Pool and David Pakman and Brian Tyler Cohen. So every left, right, everything in between, right? Breaking points, et cetera, right? So what I see from the right in that is some of them are hardcore MAGA guys. And if Trump says end the Constitution, they'll light it on fire, right? But half of them are just bros. And they're like, wait, why are we burning the Constitution? I thought we were in favor of the Constitution. So you're beginning to see that. When I first said that, people were like, oh, get out of here. There's no way. Every Trump voter is a racist, fascist, et cetera. But wait, and then all of a sudden Trump burns up the stock market, and Dave Portnoy, who supported Trump, is out there going, what the hell? I just lost $20 million. Okay, I don't like this. I don't like this. And I don't blame him. I don't have the $20 million to lose, but I know I'd be mad. Okay, so that's financial. You go to Rogan, and Rogan's like, wait. What are we getting rid of due process for? Why are we locking people up without even bringing them to a court? What part of that is America? And it isn't America, right?
You got Candace Owens talking about them taking away freedom of speech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and look, you're seeing on behalf of Israel, they're snatching up people off the streets. And so it doesn't get any more cancel culture than I'm going to arrest you with mass men. I'm going to deport you. I mean, that's canceling your life, right? And so they cancel their diplomas, et cetera. So I see all that. But my point to you, Charlamagne, is that you'd be surprised at how many other people see that. So he came in at around 50%, which is as high as he's ever been. Boom, last poll out, he's down to 40. Opposes 59%. He's already in a 19-point hole, and he's going south. So if he goes to cancel elections, for example, I wouldn't put anything past him, right? But at that point, it's not just going to be us on the left, and it's not just going to be minorities. It's going to be people like Rogan and others who go, no. We signed up for lower prices. We signed up for closing the border. We signed up for some of the things you or I might agree with or disagree with, but we didn't sign up for this.
But then what happens when he starts locking up the media?
Yeah. So look, here's your bellwether, okay? He locks me up, we're in a lot of trouble. Okay. But here I am on the front lines. I oppose him 100%. I'm doing a democratic movement to make sure he loses in Congress. I'm Muslim. I'm a huge critic of Israel, and I'm a naturalized citizen, okay? So if anyone's on the front line, I'm at the very, very front of that line. And I'm saying, come get me, okay? So I'm okay with it.
Don't say that. Don't give him a reason. Don't say that.
No, my point is, though, guys, if we all panic, we're not going to get anything done.
I agree with that.
Okay, so let's all stay calm. Let's come up. Let's do a plan. Here I am with a plan to actually take power away from him in 2026. If you got a better plan, I'm all ears, right? But what I can't have is no plan.
No, I'm with you. I don't want to be pessimistic. I just wonder if we're all too late.
Yeah,
that's literally what I want.
Yeah. So, well, getting to the audience, if in a couple of months I'm gone and Charlamagne's gone, you better act. You better do something, right? Because then we're at the precipice of almost too late.
Yeah.
And that's when we're going to see what everybody's all about. Who is Joe Rogan, right? Who are all these bros, right? Did they actually mean it when they said freedom? Because they talk about freedom 24/7, right? When they were in the minority, They're like freedom, 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 freedom of speech, freedom of this, freedom of that. They get in the control. They're like, no, arrest everybody. Who cares about due process, et cetera. So, okay, hardcore MAGA is going to believe that. But all the other Trump voters, who are you? Do you believe in America or don't you believe in America? Because if you get rid of due process, that's Western civilization. That is a cornerstone. That means you hate Western civilization. You want to go backwards to kings and dictators, et cetera. So if that's who you are, just raise your hand. Raise your hand. But if you're a Trump voter, like, dude, I just want to lower prices, right? I thought crime was a little out of control. I didn't ask for this crap. And by the way, that's what 59% of the country is saying now. We didn't ask for this crap. So let's go. Let's get animated. Go to rebellionpac.com. Get in the game. We're asking for candidates. You want to run against these guys? Let's go, right? You volunteers, donations, whatever you need. But let's go. So go help Richard Ojeda in North Carolina. He's in an R+10. Look, let me give you a scenario. So Ro Khanna is an incumbent, and he's already great. He was co-chair of Bernie's campaign. We all know and love Ro, right? So, and then, by the way, our populist plank signed by, of course, Nina Turner.
Love Nina.
Yep, Cara Eastman, Marie Newman. And by the way, Dan Osborne, who's an independent, who ran in Nebraska, signed the populist plank. Those 6 things that I talked to you about, because everybody loves it, right? So now we're saying, now look at Ojeda. Ojeda's in an R+10 district, and that is super hard to win. That is a Republican. It's not even a purple district. It's a red district. It's got Fort Bragg in it. But he's a retired Army major. He served in Fort Bragg for 16 years. And he's an absolute ass kicker. He almost won in West Virginia once in an R+54. He almost overcame 54 points. Why? Because his ads were like, F the drug companies, okay? F all these corporations who are screwing you and taking money out of your pocket. And people are like, yeah, I like that, right? So we can win those independents back. They just wanted populism. They didn't know that Trump was full of crap. I mean, for us, we think, how could they not know? How could they not know? But remember how sick they are of the system.
That's right.
Right? And the system's super corrupt. So Trump was lucky and smart. He was the first guy to raise his hand and go, this is all corrupt. You hate this, I hate this. Now, he's even more corrupt, but people didn't know that. They thought they were signing up for anti-corruption. So my point, Charlamagne, is why don't we actually give him anti-corruption? Get money out of politics. These donors run the whole place, and we know it. So if you're a Democrat, don't tell me the donors don't run the place. Come on.
I think it's ridiculous even when they try to say things, all these conversations about oligarchy. Now, Bernie and AOC, they can go out there and say fight the oligarchy.
Yes.
Hakeem Jeffries, you can't say that. Okay, like cut it out. We know that you've taken so much money from corporate donors, so it's just weird to see them, push back against oligarchy now and say, "Look at the billionaires controlling Trump." It's like, really?
Yeah, I mean,
Hakeem, really? Chuck Schumer, really?
But don't you need don't you have to lean into like the donors at some point? Like you need money and big corporations to move at some point, though, right? So how does that work with what your plan is? Because they're not going to want to lean in and help you if you're opposing everything that they're trying to control you to do. So where does the money, where does the power come from? Yeah,
so another great question. So last time I co-founded Justice Democrats, and so that's AOC, et cetera. And so we got the same questions, especially back then because we hadn't pulled off the miraculous AOC victory yet, right? So people are like, AOC, she's a bartender, Ilhan Omar.
She had everything. She's the girl.
Yeah, and so we said, watch, okay? And especially my co-founders, they were so gung-ho on AOC. They went all in on her, and they said, you watch what we're going to do. And we did it. And we won that election, and it made a big difference, right? So this time around, so are the corporations going to oppose us? Hell yeah. Do we want them to oppose us? Yes. I don't want their help. I don't need their help. Their help is toxic because their help comes with a price tag. Charlamagne's 100% right. You know what Hakeem Jeffries was just doing? We just reported on the Young Turks. He just collected $1.2 million, went over to the bankers. Like one of them had to pay a $6 million fine for ripping people off. Another one had to pay like some gigantic, like $60 or $600 million fine because he ripped people off. And he's like, no, it's all good. I got money from corporations. No, it's not all good. I don't want that money. That money's toxic. So, but at the end of the day, Lauren, if we don't get the money out of the system completely, then we're at a big disadvantage. So our job is to get inside the gates, open the doors for real populists, real people, Americans to come into Congress, but most importantly, capture the Democratic Party at the top, which I'll get to in a second, and then just take the donor money out. Because you can't do it unless you're at the top. But if you're at the top, you give me a populist president, and I promise you we're going to take that money out. So how, right? Because Democrats were used to, in our lifetime, they get in and they go, oh, there's nothing I could do. Yeah, but hold on, dude. You just got there. You got there. What do you mean? You didn't even try yet. You're in day 2. You're telling me there's nothing you could do. Like Joe Biden on day 2 is like, oh, $15 minimum wage. Nothing I could do. I'm going to take it out.
Wow.
Okay. What do you mean? There's nothing you can do. You didn't even try. You didn't even get a vote on it. You know why? Because the corporations don't want higher wages. They want lower wages, right? Why don't we have paid family leave? Because corporations are like, oh, that's going to cost me a couple of nickels, right? And I don't care about moms. I want them back on the assembly line, right? So all these guys on the Democratic side that says, oh, I'm going to work with corporations, and eventually 20 years from now, 200 years from now, they're going to be patriotic and they're going to be on our side. No, they're not. You just got to get their money out because we live under corporate rule. Mm-hmm. Like they're squeezing us and squeezing us. I keep telling people, look, man, don't fight left or right. Fight up. Right?
Yeah.
Like if you're looking to
follow the money.
Yeah, and why do they do these wedge issues where they drive us apart, right? Like go find the super obscure trans sports professional this, that, the other thing. Because they're trying to find a way to divide us. Because if we're fighting left and right, we're never going to be able to get united enough to fight the folks who actually have power up top. Mm-hmm. So and you can do a constitutional amendment. So this is an super important part of the plan. Because if you win in these red and purple districts in 2026, then we get the credibility to say, hey, listen, the establishment told you that they know what they're doing and that they were definitely going to win. And then you got Hillary Clinton and then you got Kamala Harris. Mm-hmm. Sorry, but you didn't know. You said you knew, but you didn't know. Mm-hmm. We said we do know. We think we can get miraculous victories like AOC, and we did know. We were right? And now I'm telling you, again, we're going to get miraculous victories in purple and red districts. And when we do that, don't tell me we don't know. We know, right? So then you take that credibility and you go, now you want to run the same old corporate stooge on the Democratic side, or do you want to run a strong, progressive populist who's going to say, let's go get this thing done. Let's bring this back to the party of FDR. Mm-hmm. Let's pass important bills that change people's lives. Because, guys, if we haven't passed the bills, Lauren, to your original point, then we didn't do anything. Like if I get Ojeda in and the next guy coming in May and Rowe, and we get them all in, and they don't pass any bills, then we didn't get anything done. That's just ego gratification.
What do you think about what David Hodges is doing?
I like it.
I love it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they're all crying, and I saw a headline just this morning right before I came in about, oh, they're going to give him an ultimatum at the DNC. Of course they are, because they're a corruption protection racket, right? Mm-hmm. So they're like, oh yeah, how you can't primary incumbents? Why? Why can't I?
Why can't you?
Yeah, and then the mainstream media, they do this every time. They're like, oh, you're just going against Democrats. Yeah, with other Democrats, yeah. with cleaner Democrats, yeah. And Democrats more likely to win, more likely to beat Republicans.
And Democrats willing to fight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and then DNC goes, how dare you fight David Hogg? You better not fight. You better know your role. So I love that he doesn't know his role. Now, I don't know who his candidates are, but God bless him. I don't really care. And by the way, as I keep saying, if you say, hey, Cenk, I don't like your economic populism. I just want to focus on culture wars or this or that, the other thing, or I think corporations aren't that bad. Great, brother. Plant your flag, run your candidates. We'll see you all in the primaries, right? And so in the beginning, like for a lot of our candidates, there isn't going to be any primary because they're so tough races that the Democrats are like, oh, there's a candidate, there's a good candidate, thank God, right? But in 2028, we'll see you all in the primary. If you think your guy's better, put up your Gavin Newsom with his slick hair, put up your Pete Buttigieg making excuses for all the donors, and we'll bring our strong populists and game on. Let's do this.
I do like Pete. I like Pete. And the reason I like Pete, because I remember having a conversation with Pete here on Breakfast Club. This was a while ago. This was years ago, actually. And I was like, we were talking about having this conversation about taking corporate money. And I'm like, can you trust a politician who takes corporate money? And he goes, well, when you take corporate money, he said, you can take corporate money, but you just can't tell these corporations can't tell you what to do. And I'm like, I don't think that's possible. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's possible to take the corporate money and not be beholden to the corporate donors. Now, if you are a politician that can do that, great for you. I just don't know if it can happen.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
So, look, here's the deal with Buttigieg. So Buttigieg is really smart, and he makes a good case for Democrats. So when he goes on Fox News and he makes the Democratic case, God bless you, brother. No problem. I'm happy to have everybody on our team, right? But he takes a lot of corporate money. And so I'm worried about it. I'm super worried about it. And I'm sorry, but I'm not going to cross my fingers and hope for the best. We've done that too many times. Yeah. But I'm not trying to rule anybody out, right? Like, I'm just saying, hey, listen, You run your race, we'll run our race, and let's all get on the same team. Let's beat Trump in 2026. And this is the most important thing. Pick the strongest candidate in 28. Because the Democratic Party always tells you to pick the weakest candidate, the most corporate candidate, the most establishment candidate. Stop listening to them. They don't know what they're talking about. They're the same guys who told you Joe Biden was young and dynamic. Right? They're lying to you.
We've had this conversation. There's only one person I think could come in, because I don't think that the Democrats need to be rehabilitated. I think it needs to be destroyed and rebuilt, period.
Who could come in and do that?
Jon Stewart.
Yeah.
He's the only one that makes sense. Now, if I had to pick an elected official, it's going to have to be a governor, right? Because you can just look at the work they did in their state. For me, that would be Governor Josh Shapiro. Other than that, Jon Stewart.
So I backed Josh Shapiro for VP. I love Tim Walz, though. That was a great pick. So no harm done, in my opinion, on that. But Shapiro is a great governor. And could he win an election? Yeah, he could win an election. And he's even done some little bit of anti-corruption work in Pennsylvania. I'll take it. That's a good start, right? So I'm, again, not hating on anyone. God bless, okay? And Shapiro is, I think, among the best of them. So, but look, on our side, we got Ro Khanna. We got Nina Turner. We got AOC. We got a lot of strong people. Now, outside of politics, we got Jon Stewart, right? You know, Stephen A. Smith keeps running his mouth about wanting to run. All right, God bless, whatever. He's conservative, but he's too conservative for my taste, blah, blah, blah. But
I just don't think he would. I don't think he'd be really taken serious in a general election. I actually think that it's conservatives that are pushing that messaging more than anybody, because they want Democrats to run somebody like Stephen A. Smith, because they know they'd win in a landslide. And
100%.
I mean, Stephen's my guy, but that's just how I feel about it.
I agree completely. Like that, how we feel about Stephen as a person and as a sports anchor is different than as a candidate, right? But the reason I brought him up is because it's not wrong to look at entertainment. I mean, look, Ronald Reagan was an actor. Donald Trump was a reality show host. He's not even a businessman. He went bankrupt 6 times. He was known as the king of debt. So, and here he is again, piling up debt on top of our heads, right? So, Jon Stewart, Charlamagne, how's that for a ticket?
No, hell no. But Jon Stewart, definitely. Because Jon Stewart actually knows what he's talking about. And Jon Stewart has actually gotten legislation passed. We've seen Jon Stewart on the Hill fighting for these firefighters here in New York City. And he has a plan. I love The Weekly Show. That's one of my favorite podcasts to listen to. When I listen to my news, I'm on Young Turks. I'm listening to The Weekly Show every week, right? And the conversations he's having with Democrats, libertarians, conservatives are the best conversations to me right now.
Yeah, let me make another case for Jon. Look, so first off, I've never seen him be wrong. Okay, and that's a hell of a thing. He's been around for a long time, right?
Yeah.
I haven't seen him be wrong factually. I haven't seen him be wrong on policy in terms of fighting for the average guy. And that is a super hard record.
Even just opinion.
Even just opinion.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I don't know that I've ever seen a single thing that Stewart said where I was like, oh, whoa, he lost me there, right? So incredible record on the issues and actually caring. And then you're right. All these politicians always say, oh, there's nothing we could do. Oh, no, we're so powerless. Jon got a bill passed from outside of Congress.
That's right.
He got more done outside of Congress than people inside Congress.
That's right.
There's 535 people in there, and they couldn't do what Jon Stewart did from the outside.
That's right.
So he has a record of proving actually getting bills passed, affecting people's lives. He's right on the policies. We know he's honest, right? So
he can message.
Yeah, if they're picking reality show hosts and they'll pick Kim Kardashian next. So I'll take Jon Stewart, right? So let's go. But the problem with Jon is that I don't know if he wants to do it.
He doesn't want to. But you know what's interesting? I watch The Daily Show and I'm like, I love The Daily Show. You know, I make regular appearances on there, but I'm like, you can look at Jon and tell he should be doing something bigger, and it has nothing to do with entertainment. I really think he should be running for some type of office, and it should be president of the United States of America.
No, yeah, he shouldn't mess around with Congress or city council. No, he's got to run for president.
Yeah.
So look, last thing on Jon is that I kind of feel like Marcus Aurelius in Gladiator, where where Maximus says, "Me? No, it can't be me," and that's what Jon is saying basically. Me? It can't be me. And Marcus Aurelius says to him, brother, that's why it's got to be you. Right?
Yeah. That makes all the sense in the world. All the sense in the world. Why do you like Ro Khanna so much? Ro's cool. I like Ro, but why do you like him so much?
So, a couple of reasons why. He's always leading, right? So while other congressmen are trying to figure out, oh my God, what's the angle? Where should I go? Ro's like, all right, no, let's go. Let's go get this done, okay? Let's rebuild manufacturing. Let's pass these bills. Here it is, right? So that's number one. You lead by leading, and I haven't seen anyone lead like Roques. So that's awesome, okay? Number two is he gets it. He's talking about economic populism, bringing people jobs, bringing higher wages, health care, the stuff that people care about, right? Number three, when push comes to shove, Young Turk's super hard to interview a lot of times, right? So we were super tough on Tulsi Gabbard when we sniffed out that she wasn't really progressive and she was actually a Republican. I did 2 incredibly tough interviews with her, on and on and on, and everybody's seen our tough interviews. Roques comes on, we disagree on something in the middle of the Biden administration. And me and Anna are yelling at him, and he's like, I hear you guys, but here's why I thought of what I did. And then he comes back the next day. Other politicians never come back. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like when you have a disagreement, the guy has strength that he could say, this is what I think, and I don't mind that you think that. And we should exchange these ideas. And I'm going to come back tomorrow, and I'm going to come back the next day, and I'm going to push for what I think is right. I mean, how many politicians do you see like that?
No, that's true.
But so if all goes well and everybody that you want in gets in, y'all are able to start moving and doing all these things, there's going to be times where y'all going to have to disappoint people because everything can't happen the way they need to. How do they handle that? Because I think that's another thing that happens with Democrats. They make it seem like they're never going to disappoint, and then they do, and then they don't know how to come back from it. You said that right now Trump is, his messaging and everything was good, but he is doing horrible when it comes to the tariffs. He's blowing it, is what you said.
Yeah.
He is sticking to his ground on like, this is what we need to do. We might lose some people in the midst of it, but it'll make for better according to him later. Y'all might have to do that too. Then what happens? Because people will say you guys are blowing it at that point.
Yeah. So first off, Trump isn't really sticking to what he said. He said global tariffs for everyone, like we're at ridiculous comical levels. And we're like, what the... I don't mind tariffs. Like you could protect certain industries with tariffs, right? And rebuild manufacturing. So it's not crazy to do some tariffs, right? But when he announced, oh, I'm going to do like these unbelievable, never heard of before tariffs all across the world, we're all like, what are you doing? That's crazy, right? So then he took that back. And then he had the 145% tariffs on China. And we're like, you know what iPhones are going to cost if you do that? Then he took that back, right? So now he's down to still stupid tariffs on China because they're so gigantic that they're not productive, right? So et cetera. So now you flip it back on us, right? So what happens? Number one, if we do something wrong, just like Roques, he's like, hey, listen, we fight for what's right. If it turns out we weren't right, then you bring it back, right? So there's no shame in saying, hey, we tried our best. We tried this, and you guys said you didn't love it, so then we're going to next. So why do we pick like those 6 bills, right? Anti-war, money out of politics, et cetera? Because those are super popular. They're all above 2/3. So if our guys getting into Congress in 2026, what we're going to say is not just Republicans, but Democrats too. Why are you all preventing a bill that's at 84%? Why are you all such radicals that you're in the 16%? So because mainstream media will say, oh, paid family leave, that is a radical progressive idea. Oh, no, nobody can pass that. The filibuster, the parliamentarian, right? Yeah, and I'm like, no. 16% is radical. 84% is not radical. This whole country wants it. 74% of Republicans want it. Over 90% of Democrats want it. Over 80% of the independents want it. Now, if we can't pass something, we're at an impasse. Why? Because the corporate donors are going to come in. They're going to buy the mansions and the cinemas. Even if they're out, there's going to be new mansions and cinemas, et cetera. What are we going to do? We're going to start calling people out. So that's what you've never seen in politics.
Yeah, they don't do that.
Especially on the Democratic side. No, Trump did it.
Yeah, that's right.
Trump will do it.
And that's kind of what I mean by not like he's doing what he said he was going to do, because he does what he wants. I just mean that like if he says he wants something and it doesn't go his way, he calls people out. He does. He sends up flares, scare tactics. And he don't care who he loses in the midst of it. That's what I meant by that.
Oh,
and Democrats don't do that at all. Like they play this like PR. You can't scare. You can't ruffle a feather. God is good. Everything is love. That's how we handle issues.
I tried to get the VP to call out cinema. I tried to get her to call out mansion. I tried to get all the Democrats to do it. They just would not do it for whatever reason.
So I know the reason. And Lauren, that's such, again, a great question, right? Because if we don't call people out, you can't get it done. So it's like Trump is terrible on policy, but on strategy, I get it, right? So like the Democrats say, oh, you can't just intimidate people into voting your way. What do you mean? I just saw Trump do it. I just saw Trump do it like 12 times.
That's right.
I've seen Trump do it now time and time again. What do you mean you can't do it? No, it's not that you can't do it. It's that you don't want to do it, right? And so, and Lauren, they take that like God is good, all that attitude as a cover story. Oh, we're so nice. We're so nice that we can't call out our colleagues. That would be mean. But in reality, they're both taking the same donor money. And there's a saying called revolving door of bad guys, right? So what if now that Manchin and Sinema are gone, you'll see that if the Democrats regain the Senate, there'll be 2 new bad guys, right? Or 8 new bad guys. Oh, now it's Chris Coons and Carper from Delaware.
I used to work with Chris Coons.
Yeah, well, not the best Democrat. But anyway, they'll be the new bad guys, right? But in reality, there's 48 Democrats behind them. And then, so what we're going to do, which is different, especially you get Ojeda in there, you won't be able to stop Ojeda. Okay, like that guy, I mean, you're going to love Ojeda if you two, you and Charlamagne, you and Ojeda would get along so great. Anyways, what we're going to say is, no, sorry, paid family leave, you took this much money from that industry, you took this much money from that industry, and that's why you're voting no. So let's say that we're back into when it was Sinema and Manchin, and they're blocking all these things. Ojeda and all the new guys would have come in and go, Sinema's wrong. Manchin's wrong. You know, after they killed paid family leave and those two voted no, I'm sorry, on minimum wage, they voted no. Right afterwards, they went to the National Restaurant Association and started collecting checks from them because the National Restaurant Association was the #1 lobby against a higher minimum wage. They're so corrupt and we're rubbing it in people's face, and mainstream media covers for them 24/7. Did you tell everybody how corrupt Manchin and Sinema are? Did you tell them that they literally went to go pick up bribes? Like legalized bribes the day after the vote. I think one of them was on the day of the vote. So they come in their fancy outfit and they shimmer and then they
with their
vote.
pins.
Yeah, with their pins and they vote no. They go collect their bribes, right? Mainstream media never calls them out and Democrats never call them out. We're calling them out. We're calling them out. You hear me saying it about Sinema Manchin? You hear me and Charlamagne talking about it, Hakeem Jeffries? Chuck Schumer talking about billionaire buddies. He's like doing talking points like, oh, Republicans and their billionaire buddies. Hey, brother, come on, man. How many billionaire buddies do you have?
Exactly.
Right? So if you don't call them out, you're never going to get anything done. That's the one thing Trump is right about. So let's get our guy in, but that, unlike Trump, isn't just for himself, but for once, actually looks out for all of us. So that's why honesty is more important than anything else. That's why I talk about Jon Stewart. That's why I talk about Ro Khanna, because I think and I talk about Nina Turner and those folks because they're honest. Here's the 3 things that they share: honesty, smart, and strong.
Absolutely.
Those are the 3 things you need. Without all 3, it's not the right guy.
To your point about Trump, and Trump came in as an outsider. I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna drain the swamp. Is the Democratic brand so toxic that regardless of how good the candidates are, the brand of Democrat will hurt them?
No, not at all. So, is it toxic for the moment being in places like, Kansas, Nebraska, et cetera? Well, even there, yes and no. Like Cara Eastman, who's the executive director of Rebellion PAC that's running this, rebellion now. Cara nearly won in the middle of Nebraska and so she lost by a point and a half to Don Bacon. Why? Because the corrupt Democrat that she beat in a primary ran an ad against her saying, hey, if you're a Democrat, vote against her. So, she had it. My point is, and then James Thompson, Brant Welder almost won in the middle of Kansas, and then Tracy, then a person who was against Welder wound up winning that seat. So we can win anywhere. And remember, Kentucky, West Virginia used to be deeply Democratic states. Why? Because they were populist. Kentucky and West Virginia are not conservative; they're populist. There's a difference, right? Like if Rebellion's successful enough that we help in picking the Democratic candidate and we're involved in that 2028 race, I would argue our headquarters should be in Kentucky, okay? Because to say to people, we are not doing this just for blue states. We are not doing this for the elites. We're doing this and we're bringing the Democratic Party back to its populist roots, where they dominated in Kentucky and West Virginia. So we do it everywhere. We win everywhere. And so then you rescue the brand. It's because it's not like the brand wasn't great under FDR. I mean, the brother won 4 terms, right? And the country loved him. They still love him. The brand was strong under JFK. So the brand can be rescued. And there is no option anyway. What are you going to do? Go Republican? You can't go Republican, right? So,
but you got to create a third party. A viable third party.
That's what you guys have anyway.
No. So the reason
they'll never let a third party win is what
well, it's not just that. Look, the third party, unfortunately, the way that the system is structured, it's not like I didn't look into it. We looked into it a lot, right? So you need to be almost a billionaire to run as a third-party candidate because just getting on the ballot costs so much money.
So I was asking about the donors and the money. I'm like,
Yeah.
it sounds like y'all are another third party trying to come together. Y'all need the money because if not, y'all don't have the platform and like the glitz and the glamour that you need to become those two main candidates.
But so here's the thing, Lauren. So, okay, they say third party, that's so difficult, et cetera. Taking over the Democratic Party, it's really difficult. But wait, is it? Because Trump took over the Republican Party with no problems, right? So what did he do? He came in and
he ran as a Republican, right?
So he ran as a Republican. First of all, actually, did you guys know he originally ran in 2000 as an independent?
Yep, absolutely.
And got smoked
Yep.
because independent third party is near impossible, right? But he's like, oh, wait, I got a better idea. Why don't I just go inside the Republican tent and just take it, right? And I remember I called that he was going to win in like October or November of 2015 before they even started voting in the primaries in 2016. You know why? I saw the debate where he said, I gave money to everybody else on this stage. They took it and they did whatever I told them. I'm like, that's it. He's going to win.
God.
Okay. So you get somebody like that, but actually means well and actually represents the average American and people can sense it, right? You put him on a Democratic stage. Why don't we just take the Democratic Party? So like people are always talking about, hey, maybe we should rebuild a new car and, Hyundai or whatever. There's a Bentley right over there. Why don't we go take that one? And besides which, the guy driving the Bentley is asleep at the wheel. Like, it's going to be really hard to take it from Chuck Schumer. Is it? Is it?
So you telling Charlamagne to run?
No, Jon Stewart. Okay. I love this idea. I love what you're doing. I love what David Hodge is doing. I think it's fantastic. I tell him how to support.
All right. So first of all, rebellionpac.com. Since we're not taking corporate money, we need a lot of grassroots donors. Last time for Just Democrats, the Young Turks audience raised $2.5 million.
Wow.
This time, let's double it, right? Let's get these guys some real juice, and we're going to get them on all the shows and all the podcasts, get their voice out there. They're not afraid. They're not afraid. They love their message. They want to tell their message, okay? So rebellionpac.com, but also volunteer, right? And also, if you can, if you want to, and I announced it yesterday, already a whole bunch of people going through the candidate process. So that's how we found AOC, by the way, when we did Just Democrats.
Wow.
Her brother nominated her.
Wow. So it was like an application or something?
It was like an application.
Okay.
We have an application on rebellionpac.com.
You got to tell me what you saw. What did you see on that application?
So I was a co-founder. I mainly did the media part. I named the group, et cetera. But Shoykot, who's now running against Nancy Pelosi, and Corbin Trent and Zach Exley, those guys were the co-founders who were handling that stuff. And what they saw was, here's someone who cares about the community, who's busting her ass, trying to make a difference, and doing it and getting things done when she's just a bartender, right? So meaning like she's working her ass off at a regular job and she's having trouble paying the bills, yet she's out there helping the community and she's getting it done. And the community's telling us back. Same thing with Jamal Bowman, this amazing teacher in New York. You guys got to meet this guy, okay? Corey Bush, this amazing nurse, and she's on the front line all the time in Ferguson and St. Louis, et cetera. So that's how we find folks. Look, we can't run everybody. You got to be judicious and you got to find the best people. So I don't want to give people false hope. You got to come correct and you got to be great, right? But if you're doing that and you're an honest person, rebellionpac.com, we're going to at least consider you, whereas the Democratic Party wouldn't, right? So, okay. Then the other way is just keep up with Young Turks. Like we're on YouTube, 6 o'clock every night, 6 to 8 o'clock, me and Anna, right? And so we're going to give news about all the updates and stuff. And then we're going to, I'm sure, have amazing people join our advisory board to help us win, like maybe Charlamagne.
No, I would do that. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. Let's talk about it. Okay. I would love that. Right.
Absolutely.
And we got some other folks that are, interested in joining the advisory board that I think would be amazing. Let's get a wide variety, right? Everyone, Charlamagne, from you to like, I want Harvard law professor Larry Lessig. He's a godfather of money in politics, get money out of politics. And so let's get smart, passionate people to actually overcome the system that we have here. And so look, if you give up, they win. Absolutely. If you stay on your couch, they win, right? But if you get up and try, look, protests, I love it. It needs a step 2. And this is step 2, right? Step 2 is we actually go win and take back Congress. Step 3 is we go take over the Democratic Party and win the country over and actually pass the bills, right? But step one's great. Get in the game somehow, right?
Yeah, make some noise.
Make some noise. Volunteer for Rebellion PAC. Go to protests. Or you heard somebody's got a better idea. Do that idea, right? But get in the game, because the minute you sit down and lose hope is the minute they win, because their number one enemy is hope. If we all have hope in our hearts, then we're all going to keep rising up and rising up and rising up, and they're not going to be able to stop us. But the minute we lose hope is the minute that they've won. So that's why a lot of the doom and gloom these days is super understandable, because Trump is really running roughshod over the Constitution. On the other hand, I don't want people to get depressed. Like, depression doesn't help us at all, right? I want you to get activated. And by the way, the other thing is emotional release. Like, you could hate Trump, and as you can tell from me, like, not a fan of Trump, right? But we're not about hating Trump. We're about beating Trump, right? Because what I'm worried about is you hate him, and you get so angry and depressed, and you stay home, and you lose hope, and you lose faith, right? Don't do that, because that helps Trump. Your depression helps Trump. He wants you depressed. Don't let him do it. Get up and fight back. And you can yell like at his voters, but that's not going to help. Remember, we want the independents back on our side.
That's right.
Remember that he's at 59% disapproval. That means we're winning. He's losing. That means those independents are movable. Just because they voted for Trump doesn't mean they're going to stay with Trump. Let's go win those guys back. And the way that you win them back is by offering a positive solution like we're doing. We're going to actually improve your lives. We're actually going to make things better for you. We're actually going to be honest. We're actually going to deliver for you. That's how you get people back up in the streets with hope, fighting back in a productive way. Get the independence back, and let's win these elections, and let's pass these bills.
Tell them where to find you, man.
So Young Turks on YouTube, 6 to 8 o'clock. You could, of course, find it on tyt.com as well, and rebellionpac.com to help this movement, rebellionpac.com.
And your Instagrams and all of that.
So at Cenk Uygur and at the Young Turks, and you'll be able to find us on all the platforms.
My man Cenk, thank you for joining us, brother.
Thank you, Charlamagne. Appreciate it. Thank you, Lauren.
Of course.
Great questions. Really appreciated it.
Thanks for
It's
the
the
combo.
Breakfast Club.
Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.